Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to be here today to chat with you all about the four types of content that's going to supercharge your personal brand. I'm Melanie L. Denny, personal branding consultant and self marketing expert, and I help executive women of color to build their visibility, authority, and thought leadership without sacrificing authenticity. So, I wanted to talk about these four content types because what I've been finding around social media is that folks are posting, right? But they're really not building their personal brand. And I want to just make sure that folks listening understand that just because you post all the time or just because you have your content kind of going out there does not mean you're building a strong personal brand, right? You're visible, your stuff is there. However, maybe folks are not necessarily connecting with you. You're not building that trust, you're not building authority or credibility. And so I wanted to just share my framework for the four types of content that you should be posting if you really want to build that strong personal brand. Okay. So, in no particular order, we're going to dive right in. So, these are four C's. They all start with the letter C. You know, I love me a good acronym, a good pun, all that good stuff. And so, the first one is credibility. So you want to post content that builds your credibility. And how do you build credibility, right? It's about building that level of trust so people can see you as someone that they can come to if they have a specific question or they want to hear your opinions about something. And so what does that look like, right? So posts that build credibility is could be a couple of different things. It could be you educating someone on it, right? You educating someone on your framework or your the way you do things and things like that, right? So these are your tips, strategies, how to's, that type of stuff. Okay. That's going to build some credibility because what you're doing is you're showing people, like, hey, I know what I'm doing. Here's some ways in which I can show you how to do this thing well. And you're giving them some instructions or something to show them, like, hey, follow this advice, and if this thing, you'll get this result. And so definitely want to educate your people and build that credibility. Another thing you could do to build credibility is you know give facts and stats and things like that. So these are things based on some research, right? So you know 20% of people do X, Y, and Z, and then give your perspective on why that is, or maybe give some reason as to how that came about. Maybe add something, some opinions around whatever the statistic was, right? That those type of things are going to build credibility because once you share stats, it shows like, oh, okay, you're really talking about something that is of substance. You're not just making up stuff off the fly, right? So those are some things, some ways in which you could build your credibility. So educate people, give tips, give strategies, your how-tos, you share facts, you share stats, right? Whatever framework you have, maybe you have a proven framework. So what I'm sharing right now is my own framework for building your personal brand, right? So there is a graphic that I have that goes with this that I can share as well that basically breaks down these four types of content. So credibility is that first one. The next one is connection, right? And this may kind of seem obvious, but it's really not. Folks are missing the mark, right? Folks are missing the mark on this. And so you definitely want to make sure that you're building connection with your people. So, how do you do that? You build connection by telling stories, relatable stories that other people can share in terms of your experiences, right? So, for example, I've shared a story on LinkedIn a few months back or weeks, a while back, where I talked about the fact that I didn't think I was like a very good speaker. I thought I needed a lot of work. I thought I wasn't as polished as I could have been, or in comparison to some other colleagues, that I just wasn't the best speaker. But what I found was that folks didn't really care that much about how well I spoke. What they cared about was me being real and me being me and showing up authentically and being relatable, right? So I shared that and it got a lot of traction. So stories that are relatable. So you got to start thinking about what are some things that your audience is struggling with or have experienced. And then what stories do you have that are relatable to those experiences and share it, right? Share it, and don't be shy about getting into a little bit of the struggle, some details around the challenges, right? Personal challenges are so powerful when you post, because a lot of people feel like they're alone when they're struggling with stuff. They feel like they're the only ones. They feel like, oh my gosh, no one's going to understand. I'm so alone in this horrible situation and I'm stuck in. But really, if you start sharing your experiences and you have similar struggles, then they'll realize, oh, wow, I'm not alone. I'm normal. Right? Other people have these same or similar challenges as I do. So it's okay. And they're not beating themselves up as much. And they're going to start to feel a connection with you, right? So share those challenges and stories. Share those aha moments when you felt like, oh my gosh, I was going through all these things and then it finally clicked for me. Something turned on and I had a pivotal aha moment, and share that and people will really eat it up. Trust me. Trust me. Lessons learned. Oh my goodness, I went through this. It was traumatic, but here's the lesson that I learned. And I want you not to make the same mistakes as me. And throughout all of this, you want to make sure that you are sharing in the emotion, right? Sharing, saying, I felt ashamed, I felt embarrassed, I felt angry, I felt sad, whatever you were feeling. Tell us about it. Tell us about it, because only then will your people connect with you on a deeper level, and they'll really feel like you know what they're going through and that you understand them. And that's how you start to build trust and emphasize that credibility piece. Okay. So credibility, connection, con- conversion. Okay. So again, these are in no particular order, but conversion, this is the type of content that converts. So basically, social proof, right? So for example, um, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for my client. She generated XYZ result. And she was coming from a certain struggle, and together we worked together, and now she's XYZ. Social proof, testimonials, case studies, right? Those are the type of things that you want to post about. When you post about things that has happened, that worked, that you've done with previous folks, it shows like, okay, if it worked for someone else similar to me, then it could possibly work for me as well. When you post these testimonials, don't just post and say quotes what they said in their testimonial, unless the testimonial is telling the beginning, middle, and the end. You want to really paint the picture and dig a little deeper into what was going on with that person that you helped before you started helping them, what you guys did together to make the transformation, and then what the outcome was. And then invite them, right? Invite them to also work with you as well. So that's the conversion piece. Now, the other piece of this too is you really want to differentiate yourself as you talk about whatever you have to offer. So let's say you want to mentor, I don't know, Black women in STEM. Well, what makes you the one that they should come to, right? What makes whatever you're going to tell them different? It could just be, I've done it. I've went through these challenges. I've done these steps. I thought this way, and these are the mistakes I made, and they're very specific to an industry. That will help you to stand out among maybe other people that are looking to mentor other people, if that makes sense. So make sure when you're talking about things that you've done, put your emphasis on it, put your spin on it, right? And you can differentiate yourself, and that will help you to convert folks. The key to the conversion content is really about that. Here's what you're going to, here's how you're going to benefit from working together or talking to me or whatever you have to offer. And then here is how you can move forward with working together. It could be DM me, message me, book a call, buy this thing, download something, whatever it is. The conversion post is literally there to show them why they need to work with you and then invite them into whatever your offer is going to be. Okay. So that's conversion. So we did credibility, connection, conversion. And the last one is change. So change. Now, what do I mean by that? So change is basically you helping your people to see a different perspective, right? Is to show them a different way to think, right? Shifting their mindset. So this could be quotes, right? Motivational quotes around a story to help them recognize, like, if you think this way, it may not be beneficial for you. Maybe you should think this way. And here's why, or here's what happened to me, or here's how I decided to change, and you should too. So these are going to be more of your unpopular opinions, for example, right? So, unpopular opinion. I heard someone say, and I had this opinion as well, but I never had the balls to say it when I was more into the resume job search stuff. Is, companies don't deserve 2 weeks notice. That's a very unpopular opinion. And there's a video right now that's kind of going viral about how, this young lady talking about how, why should we be giving these companies 2 weeks? For what? They don't give us any leeway or, lead time into when we're going to get fired, laid off. So how is that fair, right? That is an unpopular opinion, and that is evoking change in the minds and hearts of the people that listen or the people that follow her. Um, you know, I have an unpopular opinion that no one is coming to save us as Black women. No DEI initiative, right? No bias training. None of that stuff is going to save us or help us. We have to take on our own how do I say this? We have to basically advocate for ourselves and start teaching people how to treat us. That's my unpopular opinion, right? So instead of conforming, be who we are, be authentic, show up fully, and the world has to eventually accept us and embrace us for who we are. That's my unpopular opinion. And so you want to say things like that to really change. That's where the thought leadership piece comes into play, right? So that you could, again, encourage people to think differently, to shift their mindsets, to show them a different way of thinking, a new perspective. And so that is another way that you can really, really, really help to build that thought leadership piece as you post content. So those were the 4 types of content that are really going to help you to build that personal brand. And a lot of it, if you notice, is centered around you, the individual, right? A lot of it is centered around you. And here's the thing I want you to recognize. These posts and things that I'm talking about is about you, because you are building your own personal brand, but it's not about you, right? It's not about you. It's about the people listening. It's more about them, what they're going to get out of it, and the things that they're going to be able to do and how they're going to benefit. So yes, it's about you because you're telling your stories and you're sharing your opinions and things like that, but it's not about you. Hopefully that hit and hopefully that makes sense. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure you understand that, again, building your personal brand is not just about posting. It's not just, I got posts, especially on Instagram. I see a lot of Instagram feeds where you got tons of, like, general information, or you got some graphics that are beautiful with, a nice quote or whatnot. However, there's nothing there about you. Therefore, it's not building your personal brand, right? It's not building your personal brand. So make sure that if you're going to be posting and if you're going to be really showing up, that you're really showing up and you're not hiding in plain sight, because a lot of you are hiding in plain sight, meaning you're there, people can see you, but they don't know anything about you. They don't know anything about your values. They don't know anything about your why. They don't know your vision. They don't know your struggles. They don't know your story. They don't know your challenges. They don't know anything. And so, if you follow these 4 different types of content, you will definitely, definitely supercharge your personal brand, particularly on social media. Okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention before I wrap up is that you want to make sure that you are doing it in the right way. So if you are just starting out and you don't have much visibility, you don't have necessarily have a large audience, maybe you don't want to convert quite yet, right? Because who are you converting? There's no one really there that knows you, trusts you, likes you, etc. So if you're just starting out and building your personal brand, you want to focus in on the connection and the credibility pieces first. Do that for 90 days. Don't ask them for anything. Literally just build that credibility by sharing, educating them, sharing your tips and strategies, sharing facts and stats, sharing your framework, and then connecting with them through the personal stories, the challenges, the aha moments, your lessons learned, that emotional piece. Focus on those 2 things first. And then you can move into the conversion. And then you could talk about, that mindset shift. The mindset shift can also be mixed in, but I think in the very beginning, credibility and connection are your number 1 things you want to do first. Once you have an audience that's really feeling they're connected and you've built that credibility piece, then your conversion is going to be way easier, right? It's going to be so much easier. So that is my message for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate it. I will be sharing the link to grab the graphic to go with this framework. That again is my specific framework for how to create content that's going to supercharge your personal brand. Okay, because not all content builds a personal brand, right? Personal branding is more about who you are, what your message is, who you want to impact, the why behind what you're doing, and things like that, versus just, sharing a funny meme or, throwing out a pretty quote, right? It needs to be about you, but it's not about you. All right. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, and we'll talk to you again next time.